Hi everyone. So every 6 months, I go through the finance tech stack that we recommend with all of our startup and scale up clients. So because this keeps changing on a regular basis, it is worthwhile that I do go through this every 6 months because we're finding new tools, there's new things that are coming to market, and sometimes there's been a development with an existing tool that makes it a bit more fit for purpose. So today I'm going to go through the September 2024 update. The last one I did was in March 2024. So it is time. Going through everything, I found that there were quite a few changes and different recommendations. So it's definitely been worthwhile to update again 6 months later. Hi, my name's Alysha Randall and I am a fractional CFO. I have a small company called Fast Growth Consulting where we support founders in their finance function. And I also train new and aspiring finance directors and CFOs in this space. So let's get started with this month's finance tech stack recommendations. So what I wanted to say before we go into each of the sections is, why is a finance tech stack important? I mean, I probably will delete this slide when I do an update in March 2025, but obviously ensuring efficiency and accuracy is really important. You want to make sure that your small finance team, because generally in a startup or scale up, the team is quite lean, is more value adding. So rather than spending their whole time on financial operations, they're rather doing exercises such as business partnering, looking for trends, those kind of things. And ultimately, if they are doing more of those value add, you don't need to scale your team as the business is scaling. So ultimately, you're reducing the cost of your operational team. So one thing I did want to add in as part of this finance tech stack conversation is there is a lot more to updating your processes than just throwing software at the problem. So before you do any software implementation, there's kind of 3 steps that you need to do first. The first one is reviewing the existing workflows to find the inefficiencies. So this may help with prioritization. So you may find, or your team may already find, that there are elements of their role that are taking up lots of their resources and feel that there needs to be a better way. So it's worthwhile doing that review and finding out which processes are taking up the most amount of time or are the most inefficient as far as accuracy concerned, and make that your priority. The second step is to review the full end-to-end process. And this is why it's really important, particularly when you're software implementation. Software doesn't solve the entire process, and it also doesn't fix a bad process. So first you need to make sure that the process is as good as it can be before automation, because if you throw software in before you do that exercise, it's actually going to make the bad process more pronounced, and you haven't in fact fixed the problem, you've potentially made it worse. And the third step is to consider growth and scalability. So in a startup or scale up where potentially there's, you're doubling year on year, potentially maybe more, maybe a bit less, you need to make sure that any process improvements or any software implementation that you put in can deal with that scale and deal with additional volume. So think more longer term before you start putting in these additional softwares. Okay, so what are the softwares we're looking at? So let's have a look at the engine room, the general ledger. This hasn't changed much at all. So at that really early stage, startups up into about a medium size, you're looking at Xero. I think that's the best. And then the next level up generally for me is NetSuite. Otherwise, UK Sage Intacct is not bad either. When you knowing when to do that upgrade, I did actually write about this topic standalone. So I'll leave a link to that below. But ultimately, these are the two engine rooms essentially that I would recommend. The next area then is accounts payable. This one hasn't changed too much. So when I'm looking at automating the incoming invoices, most businesses nowadays use Dext in the UK. With approvals of invoices, Approval Max is really good. Purchase orders generally I only put in for a subsection of the business. I don't do it company-wide. Approval Max deal with that as well. Bills.com is what I use in the US, and that one's quite slick. And then if your bank doesn't allow for batch uploads in the UK, then Telaroo is quite good, and I use that one as well. Then if we look at accounts receivable, there's probably two that I look at. The first one is Chaser for credit control, helps automating and quite a lot of elements, all of the emailing actually, and classifying your customers into red, amber, green. And then with SaaS billing, ChargeBee is the one we're currently using with some of our clients. Then there's payroll and expenses. In the UK, my first point of call is always BrightPay. It's dirt cheap. It's very scalable. You're not charged on volume. So if the payroll grows, the bill doesn't grow, which some of its competitors do. My only caveat to both of these, particularly UK payroll function, is if you already have a HR system in place, the first point of call I would recommend is looking at the HR payroll first, because if you don't have to duplicate HR changes, then that's probably a first point of call. But if you don't have a great HR system, I mean, BrightPay obviously links to certain HR systems, then I'd recommend BrightPay. In the US, I recommend Gusto, particularly if you are not based in the US. Gusto kind of does everything for you. Obviously, virtual cards instead of expenses. I still sometimes come across businesses that use an expense process that are really old school. I would just move away from that. In the UK, we use Spendex, Pleo, and Revolut for all of those kind of cards. And then in the US, we use Brex, and now Revolut's also in the US as well. So they're the ones that I would recommend and we use with all of our clients. The next area is reporting and budgeting. So both consolidation reporting, I would recommend Fathom and Spotlight. I have to caveat this is for early stage businesses. This is not for larger entities. With large entities, you have a bigger budget, so you can probably get a lot more sophisticated. I'm tending to lean towards Fathom a lot more at the moment. So I think I'd say 75% of my clients are now on Fathom. So we're getting to know this one very well. But Spotlight's also quite good. Budgeting for small entities, we're still using Excel. We tested out Fathom's budgeting. I didn't love it. So we're not using that anymore. We are always on the lookout for an inexpensive budgeting tool. I don't think we're quite there yet. So this is again an area that's that there is a gap, but no doubt something will come out soon. For companies that have a bit of cash, Mosaic's quite good, but Casual, we're also testing with one of our clients at the moment. This one, my CFO network mentioned that Casual is quite good. So this one we're really testing out. I have used Mosaic before, but I'm not currently using it just because it's quite expensive. And most of my clients are around Series A. So Casual is another good recommendation. So then we're moving on to equity and a couple of other things. So for UK parent entity, both Vested and Ledgy, this is a change from what I recommended previously, just largely because these two are a bit better at making sure that you don't have cap table issues further down the line. However, a previous recommendation, I've seen a couple of cap table issues. So these are the two that I recommend now. With US parent entity, Carter is the one that we look at. And then for grant grant funding. Grantify does UK and US. I met the CFO the other day, and I didn't realize that actually they're much bigger in the US than they are in the UK, just because there's more grants available. So I'd recommend having a look at Grantify if you want to start looking at grant funding and not just relying on fundraising, equity and debt fundraising, also R&D credits. This is another way of accessing some funds. Artificial intelligence, so ChatGPT is obviously the main one I'm using, but I'm also using Perplexity. I find that one quite good because it gives you links to where it got its information. So particularly if you're looking at things like legislation, the latest rulings, those kind of things, Perplexity is better than ChatGPT. But I am using it for coding. So this morning I did a workshop on cash flows, and we were talking about Excel. And one of the questions was, do you have any Excel course recommendations? And actually I don't, because ChatGPT can do it for you. So definitely, if a formula, quite a decent sized formula, isn't giving the result that it should, just copy and paste the formula into ChatGPT, ask it why it's not working and what you're trying to do, and it'll just spit out a new formula for you. So, and an explanation as to why your formula was wrong. So, obviously we're always trying to move away from Excel, just because as flexible and as an amazing and as quick it is to implement, once it starts getting sizable, that can cause more problems than it's worth. It's also great for summarizing reports and PDFs. So if you get industry news or accounting updates or tax updates, and the report's really long, because it generally is, because you have consultants writing them and they need to justify their fees, then just upload them in ChatGPT and ask it to give you a summary or highlight the main points, and it will give you that. Point form for a report. So again, if you have written a report yourself and you want to summarize it in point form, just get ChatGPT to do it. Title or heading ideas, I find ChatGPT quite good. Ideas or framework for writing. So, if you need to write a speech or you need to write a report or anything, it can give you a good template to start with. It's always easier to edit a starting point than a blank page. And then actually we've started using it for templates for policies. So, if you have to write a treasury policy or a procurement policy or something like this, you don't have a copy from a prior work, or, you haven't been able to access one from your network, then just tell ChatGPT to give you a template. They will write it and then you can edit it. Again, much easier to edit a template than it is to start with a blank page. And then just a final thing, there's a couple of templates that I use for cash flows. Yes, they're both in Excel. The first one is a rolling 12-month cash flow forecast, largely because with Startups and Scaleups, relying on a cash burn to help you with working out the cash runway. So when you run out of cash, the cash burn's not going to help, because the cash burn is variable, particularly if you're a fast growing business. So you can't really rely on cash burn to help you with cash runway. So you need a cash flow forecast to help you with that. Ideally, the cash flow forecast should be as long as when you run out of cash and need to fundraise. So at a minimum, it should be 12 months, ideally longer. But you want to have enough of a notification of when the cash is going to run out. And I do recommend for it to be rolling. So every month you add a month and update any of the metrics and KPIs, because it can change. And the last thing you want to do is tell a founder that the cash runway is 12 months when in actual fact it's 9 months. It's a big difference, and the founder needs as much notice as possible so that the two of you can strategize how to extend that runway through fundraising and debt and all those different things. So And then the second one is a detailed 3 to 6 month weekly cash flows that you can use in tighter times. So if you are currently within a fundraise and you want to understand that if the fundraise takes longer than you expected and cash flows are going to get tight, and you need to shift things around, then I would highly recommend doing this. Ideally, at any point when cash flows get tighter than 6 months, ideally you should be doing this, because you can be much more proactive when you've got some runway than when you're going to miss next month's payroll, for example. So both of these templates are available for you to download. I will link this below in the comments so you can get access to both of those. I use these with all of my clients who, particularly if they're early stage and need that additional help to manage their cash flows, then I'll give you access to those. And you can download those for free. That's no problem. Okay, so there is my finance tech stack update for September 2024. As I said, these are exactly the finance tech stack that I use with our founders and our startup and scale up clients. Again, most of my clients are seed, Series A, up to about Series B. So if you're working for a company that's significantly larger, you may need to review larger kits, but potentially, these ones might satisfy your company and where they're at. So hopefully you found that useful. I'll do an update again in March 2025 as we change. But we do try to keep updated with the latest kit. Obviously, everyone has a different opinion. This is what we use. So again, click below on the template if you want to see that cash flow template, and you can get access to that for free. And then also, of course, if you found this useful, please don't forget to hit subscribe, and you will get our weekly updates for finance leaders or aspiring finance leaders in startups or scale ups. I'll see you next week. Cheers.